Brian Williams has been suspended for 6 months without pay by NBC News. He is the most watched evening news anchor in the United States, and he is going to have a 6-month vacation to think about the stories he told which were untrue regarding his coverage of the Iraq War, the stories that are increasingly being questioned around his coverage of Hurricane Katrina. And NBC News did an internal investigation of the statements that Brian Williams made, and they determined that he is going to have to go on break. And NBC News President Deborah Turness said in a memo, quote, "We have concerns about comments that occurred outside NBC News while Brian was talking about his experiences in the field." And NBC Universal CEO Steve Burke said that the suspension was both severe and appropriate, but also that Brian Williams deserves a second chance and that they are rooting for him. The suspension is, as I mentioned, without pay. Now, Brian Williams' salary is reportedly around $10 million a year. So a 6-month unpaid break, simple math tells me, Lewis, that that's about a $5 million hit for Brian Williams. I think he can probably afford it unless he's living such a drastically inflated, expensive lifestyle that he is not going to be able to pay his bills. But aside from the salary implications, this is a really serious issue because, yes, a lot of people did lie about the Iraq War. I totally understand that. But these are personal stories told by an individual about their direct experience. Of course, Dick Cheney has zero credibility on the war in Iraq. Donald Rumsfeld has zero credibility when it comes to the war in Iraq. But no one forced Brian Williams to concoct these stories, and some still insisting they may not have been concocted and deliberately fabricated, that they may have been the result of PTSD or trauma or false flashbulb memories, etc. Either way, at this point, Brian Williams' credibility has been hurt. And what I want to ask you about, Lewis, is he tells these stories that are not true. And we don't even yet know the full extent to which they're untrue. He gets suspended for 6 months and then he comes back. Does being suspended for 6 months restore his lost credibility?
Well, this starts as a 6-month suspension, but the company could easily, at the end of or during this 6-month suspension, say that they are firing or they are letting him go.
But put that aside for a second. You as a news consumer, question one is, did Brian Williams lose credibility based on the stories he told for you?
Brian Williams will always be that guy who lied about the plane story or helicopter story in Iraq. He'll always be that guy from now on.
That's what I'm getting at, which is after he comes back, if the suspension is seen as sort of punitive and restorative from the point of view of his employer, NBC News, that's fine. He'll have paid his debt to his employer for the stories. But will he long-term have his credibility restored? I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough thing.
Yeah, and Bill Cosby will always be that person who was drugging and molesting women, and Michael Vick will always be that guy who killed dogs. I mean, that's just what happens.
Bill Cosby allegedly, Michael Vick convicted, right? So certainly a different situation.
Alleged. Well, this is alleged, isn't it? This is Brian. It could be PTSD. We don't know that he lied about this.
Right. All we know is that he admitted to telling a story that was factually untrue, but we do not know the explanation behind it. Send me your thoughts on this. What is your thought about the Brian Williams suspension? Tweet to me on Twitter at twitter.com/dpakman.